So my name is Remy. I work with WebinarGeek. I do that for almost 4 years now. I lead the development and technology team, and part of my responsibilities include privacy and security. So making sure your data is safe and secure within WebinarGeek. So WebinarGeek is GDPR proof. We process data on your behalf. So you trust us with the data of your subscribers, of your webinar viewers. So we process the personal data, and we offer a set of tools that allow you to process that data in a way that makes it GDPR proof. And our organization is set up in a way as well that we treat the data in a way that is compliant with the GDPR, such as hosting your personal data within the European Union. The Privacy Shield was a framework that allowed for personal data of European Union customers to be safely transferred to and processed within the United States. The Privacy Shield has been invalidated a few months ago. That invalidation means that any data that is processed within the United States, data of European Union consumers, is no longer GDPR proof, so it's no longer complying with the GDPR. So the Privacy Shield being invalidated is a big change for many companies. Is the way that they need to process their data. So WebinarGeek processes your personal data, the personal data of your subscribers, and that subscriber data we safely store and process within the European Union. It does not leave the European Union, which is one of the things that is set in the GDPR as a way to be compliant with the high standard of security and privacy of your data. So WebinarGeek offers a set of tools that allow you to be GDPR proof, and one of our most popular tools is the consent field. A consent field is a field that you can add to your registration form that allow your subscribers to consent to, for instance, your privacy policy, to, for instance, an opt-in to your newsletter. For all those things you generally need permission. In order to obtain that permission, you can use the consent fields. And we store the consent fields in a way that is GDPR proof, so who has clicked on it, when, and what was the exact label when the consent field was added. And that makes it a good GDPR compliant way to receive consent from your subscribers. So one of the more advanced tools to keep your data safe and secure is what we call anonymization. As said, we process data on your behalf within your webinars. That includes personal data, so at minimum it includes an email address and or a first name. It may include more data such as telephone number and organization name, depending on the fields you've added to collect information during webinar registration. If you, after your webinar has ended, do not really need that data anymore, or you wish it to be gone from WebinarGeek for whatever reason, you can use our anonymization feature. By anonymization we mean that we anonymize, so we make it not relatable to a person anymore, all the personal data that is in your webinar. So your first name of your subscribers, the email address, the IP address, all that data will be masked. But you still keep all your statistics. So you still know how many people watched my webinar, for how long, and how many people registered to my webinar. So that data is still there, but all the personal data is gone. So it's a good way to, if you don't really need that data anymore, to remove it from WebinarGeek while still maintaining the ability for you to analyze the success of your webinar. So to make your webinars GDPR proof, one of the most important aspects is for you to see who your target audience is. If you target European Union consumers, it means you need to be GDPR proof. And we offer you a set of tools that allow you to be GDPR proof, such as our consent fields, but also the tools like the data lookup to facilitate removal or lookup of data. And by already using WebinarGeek, you're already using a company that processes data in a way that is compliant with the GDPR. However, based on your organization and your audience, you do need to have a look at, okay, what do I need to adhere to in order to be GDPR proof? And any answer to those questions will be, if that answer is like you need to facilitate certain consents or information, those are tools we provide. WebinarGeek works with a set of internal procedures that make the data we work with, the software we build, safe and secure with privacy and security in mind. We do comply with a set of internal guidelines that are created in line with guidelines set most importantly in the ISO 27001 standard. However, it is important to note that we do not have an official certification yet. However, WebinarGeek has grown quite a bit in the last year, so that means that we as a company are more ready and mature, if you will, to be able to have certain certifications. So this is definitely something we're looking at in the coming year. So your data is in the safest possible hands with WebinarGeek. The way we process data, the way we store data, but also the way that our WebinarGeek employees deal with your data. The support staff comes to mind as the best possible example. Support staff has access to account details that they need access to. However, they cannot just go into your account and look at your webinar recordings or look at your chat transcripts. For all those things, we have a process in place that is facilitated in our application that requires consent for us to do so. So if you ask us a question that may require us to look at your webinar recording, we generally ask you consent to allow us to look at your personal data. And we only do so after consent. So those are examples that make it clear that in the way we work and the way our people are trained, your data is safe and secure with WebinarGeek. So as an organization dealing with personal data, processing data, you need to look at your stack of tools that you use to do so. So this may include your mailing tools like ActiveCampaign or MailChimp, which are United States companies, but it also may include a simple spreadsheet that you use. So you do want to have a look at the tools you use to process data, and you want to look at that carefully. And with the mind of the GDPR, you need to, what I recommend to do is, if you use American companies to process data of your subscribers, of your customers, that is personal data, reach out to those companies. Ask them, okay, according to the GDPR, it's not allowed for me to process personal data outside of the European Union. How does your company deal with it? And if their answer is, well, we don't deal with it yet because we don't offer European Union storage or whatever, that means you need to, well, consider the service that you use, because it means that your company is today not compliant to the GDPR, and you may need to switch to software that allows you to do so. So the UK has left the European Union, which means that they they're no longer part of the GDPR. However, the UK has implemented their own version of the GDPR called the UK GDPR, which is generally the same thing. However, it targets a different geographical region. So if you process data of consumers within the United Kingdom, you need to have a look at the UK GDPR and see how you can be compliant to those set of guidelines. However, more or less they're the same with the European GDPR. So using software that complies with the GDPR is a requirement for organizations today. With the invalidation of the privacy shield, it means that processing or storing data outside of the European Union is no longer considered valid to be for the GDPR. So if you target consumers within the European Union and you still store your data outside of the European Union, or have your data stored outside of the European Union, you need to look at that now, today, and look at those, talk to those companies and possibly switch to companies that do comply with the GDPR.